Hello friends, my name is Amit Singh and I welcome you in the Shankar Dev IAS Academy YouTube channel. In this video, I am going to discuss with you about the Indian Economic Test which was taken up by the Shankar Dev IAS Academy on 30th July 2021. I'll go with the first question. A tax which is paid by the person on whom the tax is incident is called as direct tax. Now remember this. In case of the meaning of incident, it is who is going to bear the burden. If the tax burden is borne by the same person on whom the tax been charged, in that case the tax is called as direct tax. Example for this is income tax, corporation tax, security transaction tax, or capital gain tax. So these are the various examples of direct tax. Now, if there is a provision where the tax can be transferred, where the tax burden can be transferred to someone else, in that case, the tax is called as indirect tax. And a good example for this is goods and service tax. So, I'll go with the second question. The index used by RBI to measure inflation is Consumer Price Index. So it is only after 2014-15 when this CPI is been used by RBI to measure the inflation. Before that, it was WPI which was used by RBI. It was only on the recommendation of Urjit R. Patel this WPI later been changed to CPI by the RBI. Third one is the zero-based budgeting in India was first experimented from the year 1986. It was from this year the zero-based budgeting became the part of our budgeting system. Now in this case, the spender need to justify their expenses, what they're going to make on the various project afresh for every year. That means they have to justify their expenses right from the scratch, from zero, for every year. That doesn't matter how much they've spent in the past year. Who was the chairman of 15th Finance Commission? Answer is N.K. Singh. Now, Nand Kishore Singh was a former IAS officer and he was also the chairman of the review committee set up for FRBMAC 2003. Fifth question. Railway budget in India was separated from general budget in the year 1924-25. Now, during that time, railway budget was forming a substantial part of the general budget, or you can say it was almost 84% part of the general budget. So because of this, it was Akbar's committee which is recommended to separate the railway budget from the general budget. But if you go with the current scenario, or in the 2017, it was Niti Aayog which recommended to merge the railway budget with the general budget. The reason for that is the size of the railway budget was very small as compared to the overall budget of India. So because of that, it was in 2017 when the railway budget was merged with the general budget. Next question is, in December 2020, a three-panel tribunal of the Permanent Court of Arbitration in the Netherlands Hague ruled against India in its long-running tax dispute with Kans Energy. So it is this company which has discovered a number of oil fields in India, in Rajasthan of course, okay, and set up its Indian subsidiary as Kans India. Now, between the year 2006 till 2011, this Kans Energy has made a number of transferring of or the selling of capital asset from Energy to Kans India and Vedanta and Petronas. So between these companies, they have shifted, they have transferred a number of capital asset or stake and could have earned a huge capital gain. Because of this, in the year 2014, Income Tax Department has launched a retrospective tax investigation over this company. Now, this investigation was challenged by this Kans Energy in the International Court of Arbitration. It was only in the year 2020 when this tribunal has awarded the judgment in the favor of Kans Energy. So there it was a case of retrospective tax dispute where the Income Tax Department has simply launched an investigation linked with the retrospective tax regulation of about 10,247 crore. So for this amount, they have simply initiated the investigation over this company, and which was challenged by Kans Energy in this particular court or tribunal, of course. And on 22nd December 2020, this case was simply gone in favor of the judgment of this court, gone in the favor of Kans Energy. Next one is the full form of NAFED is National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation of India Limited. Now it is a cooperative society. It is a multi-state cooperative society which is working for marketing the agriculture produce of the farmers, okay, which is going to benefit the farmer of the country. Now the members are also the agriculture farmers only. Fine. This NAFED, this cooperative society, was set up in the year 1958. In the same way, we also have TriFed, which is there to marketing the product manufactured or made by the tribal society or the community. Next question is capital gain tax. Again, a very important tax which always remain in news. Okay. Now this one is capital gain tax. Now capital gain tax is associated with the profit from the immovable property like land, flats, everything, sale of shares and securities, sale of gold, of course. Okay, so it is linked with all these three properties. Okay, now first of all, if you go with the meaning of capital gain, now the gain what we are having by purchasing and selling of an asset. Okay, so by selling of an asset, if we earn some gain, so that is called as capital gain. Now this capital gain is now taxable in the form of capital gain tax. Okay, now this tax is called as tax which is charged over the capital gain is called as capital gain tax. Now properties such as sale of asset, bonds, precious metal like gold we're having, and the property held by a person. Now on this, if we're having any capital gain, then over that the government has charged government may charge a tax which is called as capital gain tax. Okay. Now the next question is, a budgetary deficit means total expenditure is more than total revenue. So when the total expenditure is more than the total receipt or the revenue, then the outcome is called as budgetary deficit. Okay, right? So they were having the budget which is having two part. One is from where we are receiving thing, of course, that is total receipt, and second is we are having how we are spending the money, that is total expenditure. Now if the expenditure is more than total receipt, then in that case the outcome is called as total budgetary deficit. Okay, उसको हम बोलते क्या, it is called as budgetary deficit. And okay, but this concept of budgetary deficit start, or you can say government stopped the calculation of budgetary deficit from the year 1997, and instead of that the government has brought up fiscal deficit. Okay, So because of some reason, because of some problem, because of not having the proper calculation linked with the budget deficit, it was replaced by fiscal deficit. Okay, so the answer A is of course correct. Now 10th question is Bokaro steel plant was established with the assistance of Soviet Union. Remember this part, we were having two plants, or you can say, and second 5-year plan, the government planned to establish 5 steel plants. Okay, out of these 5, of course, B, that is Bhilai and Bokaro steel plant was established with the help of Soviet Union or USSR, which is now Russia. Fine. So the answer is Soviet Union. So both Bokaro and Bhilai steel plant was established in association with Soviet Union, in collaboration with Soviet Union. In case of Rourkela steel plant, it was established with the help of German collaboration, and in case of Durgapur steel plant, it is set up with the help of UK. Eleventh question is, what is the current account of balance of payment? Now in case of balance of payment, or if you go with the meaning of balance of payment, for this I can go with the next question first, that is 12th question. Now balance of payment refers to the systematic record of all economic transaction which a country is making with the rest of the world. Okay, which India is simply having with the rest of the world. Okay, so they were having our country India, of course. So what all transaction we are making with the rest of the world is been noted under the systematic record called as the balance of payment. Now this balance of payment usually have two accounts. In case of balance of payment, we're having two accounts, and these accounts, BOP, balance of payment, is having two accounts, and these accounts are current account and capital account. Now in case of current account, we deals with all the transactions which are linked with import and export, remittance, and unilateral payments or transfer payments, of course. That means, for example, remittance, grants. Okay, so these are the single direction payments, of course. So this all forms a part of current account. And rest, in case of investment and borrowings, forms a part of capital account. So this all we put under this particular account, that is capital account. So what all transaction we are making in the form of borrowing and investment which is coming into a country and going out from the country, in that case we count this all thing under the account of capital account. Okay, so current account include balance of trade, balance of invisible, and transfer payments. So trade stands for import and export of goods, whereas invisible balance stands for import export of services. So answer D is correct over here. So even we have solved question 12 also. Balance of payment refers to systematic record of all economic transaction which a country is making with the rest of the world. Who coined the term Hindu growth rate for Indian economy? Now Hindu growth rate is actually linked with the low growth rate, low GDP rate which was witnessed by the country during 1950s till 1980s. Okay, so that time we had witnessed very low growth rate, of course, between 3 to 5%, and which was been termed by Raj Krishna as Hindu growth rate. Okay, so that time we had witnessed very low growth rate, which was very low as compared to in fact the rest of the world. So that time, or developed world of course, that time it was named as Hindu growth rate. Okay, it was named by Raj Krishna, who was a professor in Delhi School of Economics. The slogan Garibi Unmoolan, or poverty eradication, or Garibi Hatao, was given in which 5-year plan? Now in this case, it was in 5th 5-year plan, when we had taken poverty eradication as its main objective of any 5-year plan. It was first time when the government simply focused over the poverty eradication. So it is on, or in 5th 5-year plan, when the slogan or this poverty eradication was taken up as its major objective in any 5-year plan. Okay, so answer is 5th 5-year plan. Devaluation of currency. So in case of devaluation of currency, it is more a deliberately reducing the value of the currency of the country. Okay, so there the reduction, that is deliberate reducing the value of the currency with respect to internationally traded currency. Okay, is the answer. Of course, answer A is correct. So there the government is simply deliberately reducing the value of the currency. The motive is to cheaper their export, to increase the export of goods and services. Okay, so motive is to simply to increase the export of goods and services. That is for which we are having devaluation of currency. So they were having the answer A. Next one is deficit financing lead to inflation in general, but it can be checked if. Okay, so first of all, if you go with the meaning of deficit financing, it stands for borrowing to meet out the expenditure. Okay, right? It stands for borrowing part, of course. If the country is short of fund, or if the receipt is less than the expenditure, if the expenditure is more than the total receipt, then the government need to resort for borrowing from various sources. Okay, now this borrowing is called as deficit financing. Okay, so usually the government borrows money or even print the currency also. Sometimes even print the currency, print the newer currency to meet out this particular gap between expenditure and receipt. Okay, so these two combined are called as deficit financing. Fine. So the answer is government need to increase in aggregate supply in ratio of, yes. Now if the borrowing or printing of currency is done just to increase the supply, okay, right? So along with the increase of money supply in the market, we also have increase in the supply of goods and services as per the increase of demand. In that case, we can easily check the inflation part. So there the question is linked with inflation. If there is deficit in financing, if we are having more printing of currency, or we are having more borrowing from the various sources, it simply increase the money supply in the market. Money supply बढ़ जाएगा यहाँ पर ये, and that may lead to inflation. Okay, now this inflation can only be controlled, inflation, because of increase of demand of goods and services. Now it can easily be controlled. It can be controlled, of course, by the government of India if it's focused over the increase of supply of goods and services also. Okay, so if the expenditure also lead to increase in supply of goods and services in ratio of the aggregate demand, then we can check the inflation, which may be there because of deficit financing. So as what we have seen in case of Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme. Okay, so there the government is bound to bring a huge amount into the market, of course, but it is more focusing over the production part, over the supply part. Okay, so that we can have the demand, along with that we also have some good supply. Okay, so answer is A. Now next question is goods and service tax is a consumption based tax. Okay, right? So how it is called as consumption based tax? Because there, in case of GST, we're having two parts. One part which belongs to central government, okay, and one part which belongs to state government. In case of GST, in case of integrated GST, where the center is charging GST over the producer. So it is having two part, which is which is left with the center, of course, and one which need to be given to the state government. Now in case of interstate transactions, where IGST is taking part, of course, in that case, which state, suppose if the production took place in UP and the consumption is there in Assam, okay, so now in this case, in this particular consumption process, in this particular production consumption process, two states are involved. Now when we charge GST, when we simply share the revenue of GST, so which state will gain the revenue of GST? In that case, it is the consumption state. So we were having the consumer, the amount of this state GST will transfer to that particular state, okay. So it is based over the consumption, that is the revenue earned from the GST will transfer to that particular state where the consumption took place. That is how it is called as consumption based tax. So where the consumption is taking place, will gain the revenue of the goods from that particular product. Next one is if CRR is lower by RBI, the impact on credit creation will be. So remember this part, we're having policy of credit control or money supply, okay, right? So they were having the policy of credit control, in which we're having quantitative measures. Under quantitative measure, we're having repo, we're having cash reserve ratio and SLR, right? These we are utilizing the measures to control the money supply in the market, right? So when we decrease CRR, it simply decrease the money supply, it simply impact the credit given by the various government, okay. When you decrease the money supply, when you decrease CRR, it simply have impact over the credit creation and simply increase the credit supply in the market, okay. So with the decrease in CRR rate, of course, that is simply increase the credit supply in the market, okay, or increase the money supply in the market, okay. So motive behind to decrease the CRR, cash reserve ratio, is to increase the credit, that is the money supply in the market. Fine, okay. So the answer is it increase the credit creation, that is the loan creation will be there, okay. It is there to control the credit policy control, okay. So by decreasing CRR or SLR, of course, the government try to increase the money supply by increasing the credit creation. Next question is also linked with RBI. Now RBI, Reserve Bank of India, was nationalized in the year, okay. Now remember this part, in 1935 RBI was established on the model which was there in UK or in England, okay. Now in England, this central bank was more a private bank. It was there up till 1946. It was remained as a private bank. Now I've told you, since RBI was modeled over the bank what we're having in England, so it was also been created as a private bank and remained up till the year 1949. It was only in the year 1949 when this private bank got nationalized by the government of India. It was in the same year when the Banking Regulation Act 1949 was passed by the government of India and empowered the RBI to control the whole banking system. So the answer is 1949. So in the year 1935, it was set up by a number of private stakeholders. Okay, so the equity there in this particular bank was was that of the private stakeholders. So it was more created as a private bank. It was only in the year 1949 when this got privatized by the government of India. Next one is fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit in the union budget means the sum of net increase in the borrowing part. Remember this part, okay? So there, in case of fiscal deficit, it actually stands for borrowing. It means borrowing only, okay? If we go with the fiscal deficit, it means borrowing. How much the government required to borrow just to meet out their expenditure for the coming financial year. So fiscal deficit stands for borrowing. So it is the sum of increase, net increase in the international borrowing or national borrowings, of course, over the existing borrowings. Okay, so the answer is C. In case of 21st question, in India, which one among the following formulate the fiscal policy? Now, in case of fiscal policy, it is the policy which is made by the government of India, that you know, it is made by the government of India. It is also called as budgetary policy. Okay, that means it is linked with budget, and budgetary policy or the budget is actually been formulated by Ministry of Finance. Okay, so it is formulated or presented by the Ministry of Finance. It is this ministry which is presenting the budget. Now, 22nd question is linked with debenture holders. Now, debentures are the medium of borrowing money. Remember this part. It is one of the way of borrowing money from the market. So they were having a debenture. It is more been acting like an agreement or bond as what we're having in case of government. Okay, it is more like a bond. So by using bonds or debentures, government or the private company simply borrows money from the market. Okay, so they issues agreement, okay, that they are simply having money from the creditors, and after such and such time they will simply have to pay back along with the interest. So we're having this agreement as debentures. Okay, so debenture holders are simply giving loans to the companies. Okay, they also receive interest over the money what they have simply given to the company. Okay, so that is how debenture holder of a company are creditors. Answer is creditors. So they are not the shareholders, of course, they are not the partners of the company, but they are more like the loan givers or the creditors or the lenders in fact. Next one is the most important source of capital formation in India is household, of course. Okay, so you can say in our DNA only we're having in fact this value of saving, of course. Okay, so it is household, of course, it is the family saving, it is a household saving which is the main source of capital formation, because saving leads to investment. Okay, so they were having a number of banks which simply channelize the saving towards the investment, and because of this investment we are having the capital formation. I will have the increase in the capital assets of various companies. Okay, so there what is happening there, we are having household saving which simply we put into the banking accounts in the form of saving account or current account, or you can say in the form of FDs, of course. Now these money will be simply channelized towards the companies in the form of investment, and because of this we're having the capital formations. Okay, so with the increase of household saving we're having more increase in the capital formation in the country. So the answer is capital formation, answer is household saving. Next one is India's wage policy is based on the cost of living. Okay, right? So remember this part. In case of uh, wages, indexation of wages, of course, we're having an index called as CPI industrial worker. So on the basis of this index, the government or the organized sector simply manage their wages in fact. Okay, so how much wages need to be increased depending over the CPI industrial worker. Okay, so by using this all indexes, of course, so there by government and the organized companies. Okay, so they simply indexation their wages. Next one is one of the reason for Indian occupation structure. So this again a very simple question of course. The reason for the India's occupation structure remaining more or less same over the year because of the people are largely unaware about the significance of transition between agriculture towards the industrial sector. So they are not having the much awareness about the benefit of transiting the economy from agriculture towards the industrial sector. That could be the main reason. As per the other given reason, of course, it is a more important reason which makes the occupational structure more or less same for over a long period of time. Next one is when was the SEBI was established? Okay, so the Security and Exchange Board of India was established in the year 1988. Okay, it is the SEBI only which simply controls the stock exchange of the country. Like we're having BSC, we're having NSC. It has been controlled by SEBI. So it was established in the year 1988. Next question is who is the father of Green Revolution of India? Now remember this part. It is the father of Indian Green Revolution, that is MS Swaminathan. Now if we talk about the father of Green Revolution of the world, it is Norman Borlaug. It is this person, it is this scientist only who has simply invented the HYV variety of seeds. Okay, and it was because of the effort of MS Swaminathan these HYV seeds simply brought into our country, or brought into our country from Mexico. Okay, and that led to the start of Green Revolution in 1966-67. Okay, so because of the effort of MS Swaminathan, this HYVC variety simply enters into our country and simply help us to go for the Green Revolution. Okay, so because of this HYV seeds only, we're having the starting of Green Revolution. Now remember this part, during 1966-7 phase or before that of course, so India was more depending over the foreign countries even to have the food crops to fulfill our own demand. But it was only after this Green Revolution, what happened, just after 4 years from this particular start of Green Revolution, we become one of the major exporter of various crops like wheat and rice. So they were having the photograph. So they were having MS Swaminathan, and he is the father of Green Revolution. Norman Borlaug is the father of Green Revolution of India. Next one is one of the problem in calculating the national income in India is we're having a number of services which are non-monetized, for which we have not made any kind of economic value. That is, the problem is non-monetized consumption. Now go with the example, of course. So we're having a lot of in fact facilities given, in fact we receive in our home. Okay, we're having the household labor. Okay, the caregiving facilities of course given by family members of course. Okay, and there we're having some activities which has been done by the friends. Okay, so though they are having, it is having some monetary value, but thing is we are not monetize those consumption of goods and services. Next one, which sector provides the largest employment after agriculture in India? Okay, so it is textile industry which provide the largest employment after agricultural sector. Next question, when was the first economic census was done in India? So now if you go with the case of economic census, it was more about the counting of economical activities or the entrepreneurial units which are working in our country. Okay, both in agriculture and non-agricultural sectors. So the first economic census was done in the year 1977. Now recently the economic census took place in the year 2019. It was the 7th economic census. Okay, Next one is, who presented the first union budget of independent India? Remember this part. That means after 15th August 1947. Okay, so it was R.K. Shanmugam Chetty, who was the first finance minister of independent India. Okay, presented this first budget of India, of independent India. Okay, now he presented this budget on 26th November 1947. So on this day, this budget was presented by R.K. Shanmugam Chetty. Now we also have the name of Morarji Desai. Of course, is also having some important factual linkage. Of course, now he was the finance minister who was given the presented the maximum budget, that is 10 in number, and till date, of course. Okay, so the Mr. Morarji Desai has presented 10 budgets as finance minister, of course. And thereafter it is P. Chidambaram. Next one is, Union budget is presented on the Parliament on first working day of this month of February. Now before 2017, it was the last working day of February, and that too in the evening session. Okay, or you can say it is only after 2017 only it has become first working day of February. Next question is, who can declare a financial emergency in the country? Okay, so in case of financial emergency, it is given under the Article 360 of the Constitution of India. Okay, here this article empowers the President of India to proclaim a financial emergency if it is satisfied. If the president is satisfied that there is a situation arising in which the financial stability or the credit of India is threatened. In that case, the President of India can simply declare the financial emergency. But the good part is that till now we have not utilized this particular emergency in our country. Okay, so even though we had witnessed a huge emergency in the recent scenario also because of COVID-19, but still it was more or less like a financial emergency, but the government has not declared this particular emergency now. Okay, but more dealt with in an appropriate way. Now remember this part. After declaring the financial emergency, it need to be approved by both the houses of the parliament within the time period of 2 months. Which is the largest bank of India by market capitalization? Now, in case of market capitalization, so there we talk about the share value of a company or a bank over here. Okay, so it is SDFC Bank, which is the largest bank of India in terms of market capitalization. In terms of assets, of course, it is SBI. In terms of asset value, it is SBI. But in case of market capitalization, that is the number of share in the market, floating in the market, number of shares into the present or the current price of a share. Okay, it will give us the market capitalization of any company. Okay, so in this case it is SDFC Bank which is having the highest market capitalization of any bank, of course. In case of the asset value, it is of course the State Bank of India. Which prime minister first takes step for the group nationalization of bank? So there the prime minister was Indira Gandhi. Okay, so in case of group nationalization of bank, it was first took place in the year 1969 when Indira Gandhi was the prime minister of the country. Okay, so on that year 14 banks, 14 private banks got nationalized by the government. Okay, so the motive behind to control, to simply to nationalize this all banks was to control, to have the control over the credit. Fine. Which one is the oldest working bank of India by market? Bank of India. Now, in case of oldest working bank of India, it is State Bank of India. Okay. Now, the State Bank of India was established not by the name of State Bank of India, but in the name of by the name of Bank of Calcutta. Later, Bank of Bengal. Okay. It was in 1806 when Bank of Calcutta was established, and it was later been merged. Later, there were three banks which got merged in the year 1921. Okay, and in 1955. Okay, so this bank got its new name as State Bank of India. Okay, it is State Bank of India which is having its origin with the establishment of Bank of Calcutta. So that is how it became the oldest working bank of the country. Okay, it was established as the Bank of Calcutta. Later it became Bank of Bengal in 1806. So now we're having a new concept linked with banking only, that is IMPS. You might be knowing about this. Now in case of IMPS, we're having a number of ways of transferring money by using net banking. Okay, like we're having IMPS, we're having NEFT, RTGS. Okay, we also have a number of payment gateways. So if you go with the full form of IMPS, it is immediate payment services. It is immediate payment services, which is the full form of IMPS. It is one of the way of transferring money by using mobile phones or by using internet banking. It is the interbank electronic fund transfer. So now, so you all might be using Paytm and other number of payment this gateway system. So there we usually see this kind of code, which is called as QR code. So if you go with the QR code, it stands for quick response code. Okay, so they were having a square in which we're having a number of black and white spots. Okay, now these spots can store a number of a huge amount of information. Okay, it is useful, it can contain some huge amount of information of the various item, products or objects. Okay, now there in this case you have to check out which one is wrong. Now in this case C is wrong. See, it was first designed or invented in not in Germany but in Japan. Okay, it was a Japanese company, it was a Japanese automobile company which has invented this particular QR code just to track the movement of their goods. Now we go with the next one. 40th is, who was the first chairman of Finance Commission? So again we're having a question linked with Finance Commission. So the recent one is 15th Finance Commission. Now if you go with the first one is KC Niyogi. So KC Niyogi was the first Finance Commissioner, this chairman of first Finance Commission. Now next one is, which Prime Minister is known as the father of Indian economic reforms? Now this reform started in the year 1991. Okay, and it is the Prime Minister of India, that is P.V. Narasimha Rao, who was known as the father of Indian economic reforms. Okay, so even these reforms are also called as Rao Manmohan reforms, because it is named after P.V. Narasimha Rao, who was the then Prime Minister, and the Finance Minister was Dr. Manmohan Singh. Next one is, who was the first person to adopt a scientific method in estimating the national income in India? So the answer is V.K.R.V. Rao. So here we're having the photograph of this personality. Okay, so we're having the Vijayendra Kasturi Ranga Varadaraja Rao. Okay, so V.K.R.V. Rao is there, of course. It was this person who simply recommended or adopted the scientific method of estimating the national income. Okay, so it was in the year 1931 when he adopted the scientific method to calculate the national income. Now again we're having a question linked with the nationalization of bank. So if you go with the how many banks of India are nationalized in the year 1980? Okay, so it was six bank which was again got nationalized. It was the second time when we are having the group nationalization in the year 1980, when six largest bank got nationalized. Okay, so which was having some of the highest capital in their account, of course. So those banks were chosen up to nationalize the banks. Okay, so first time it was in the year 1969, and then it was in 1980 when the government of India go for the group nationalization of banks. So NABARD was founded in the year 1982. So it is the bank, it is the, you can say it is the institution which is there for the rural development, okay, rural or agricultural development. So it is more a refinancing bank. It is not financing directly, but refinancing those institutions which are simply providing loans for the development of agriculture and rural region. Okay, so it is NABARD which was established in the year 1982. It was, I've told you, it's more a refinancing bank. It is not providing loans directly to the farmers or the people who are living in the rural area. Okay, but it is refinancing those banks which are providing loans to these all purposes. Next one is linked with the foreign exchange. We're having FEMA Act, FEMA, which stands for Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. Okay, now this act was come up in the year 1999, but implemented in the year 2000. Okay, so the next year it got implemented. It came into force from 1st of June 2000. Okay, now it was more the you can say it was more replacing the FERA Act. FERA Act, which was there, came up in the year 1973 to control the foreign exchange of forex. Okay, it was in case of FERA. FERA, the full form of FERA was Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. So by the name we can make out it is Regulation Act 1973. So there the government felt that what all foreign exchange this country is having belongs to the government. The sole right is lying with the government of India. It's lying with the country itself. So there it can control the movement of this foreign exchange. So just to control the movement of foreign exchange in the form of foreign currency, gold, of course. So there it has come up with FERA Act. Okay, which is there to control all the foreign transactions made by the citizen of the country. Now next question is there of match the following. So they were having the list of a number of committees, and the second part with the fields over which they are linked, of course. If you go with the case of first one is Suresh Tendulkar committee. Now this committee is linked with the calculation or the estimation of poverty. Okay, so it was only this committee which has simply estimated the poverty line. Okay, and remarked at as marked as in case of rural area, if a person is spending 816 rupees per capita per month, then it will be marked as, okay, as APL. And if the person is spend 1000 rupees in case of urban area, then it cannot be marked as BPL family. Otherwise it will be termed as BPL family. Fine, okay. So there the poverty line is marked as 816 in case of rural area and 1000 rupees per capita per month in case of urban area. That is the poverty line. Now this line was based over the Suresh Tendulkar committee recommendation. Now in case of Deepak Parekh committee, it was linked with the financing and development of infrastructure. Now remember this part, it is this committee who was recommended to attract the private sector towards the for the purpose of or in the power sector for the production of power, of course. Okay, so it was only over this recommendation only the government started simply opening up this particular sector for the private sector, attracting the investment from the private sector. Okay, it is Deepak Parekh committee which was set up in 2014, I think. Yes, for 14 in fact. Okay. Next we're having Rekhi committee which was linked with indirect taxes, set up in the year 1992. Okay. Apart from that, we're having one more committee. It was Goswami committee. It was linked with industrial sickness. Okay. So Suresh Tendulkar linked with the estimation of poverty. Deepak Parekh is linked with financing and development of infrastructure. Rekhi is linked with indirect taxes, and Goswami is linked with industrial sickness. So 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. So B is right over here. Next one is goods and service tax in India was introduced in the year 2017. Okay, right? It was the recommendation of Kilcut Task Force which was there in the year 2002 to 4. VAT is imposed on the final stage of production. It is not a right statement. Next one is select the correct statement. So the answer is first and second, of course. So goods and service tax was introduced in the year on 1st July 2017, and that is all. The 1st July date is also called as GST day. Okay, it was introduced in the year 2017 only, but it got passed in the year 2016, or you can say it was on the recommendation of Kilcut Task Committee, which was okay, which recommended to introduce GST in the year 2004. Okay, right? So 4 May Kilcut Task has recommended to introduce GST. Okay, but it was passed in the year 2000. It was introduced in the year 2014 only, and this bill got passed in the year 2016. Okay, and become 101st Act, Amendment Act in the Constitution of India, which has introduced GST in the system. Okay, right? Now this GST was implemented from 1st July 2017. Fine. Now next one is consider the following taxes. First one is security transaction tax, wealth tax, capital gain tax, and corporation tax. Among which of the following can be included in direct tax? So now in this case, STT is a direct tax. I've told you. So there you have to pay tax on the transaction made in the stock exchange. So it is charged over the same person who is making the transaction. It is not shifted to someone else. So a direct tax. Same is the case with wealth tax only. So we are having wealth tax up till the year 2016, and thereafter we have simply abolished this particular tax. It was almost 1% of the value of the wealth, okay, or the property. Okay, it is also a direct tax. Now in case of capital gain tax, it is also a direct tax paid by the same person who's earning the capital gain by selling of by purchasing and selling of any property. Okay, next one is we're having corporation tax charged over the same company only, which is simply earning the profit. Okay, so that means all four are the right answer, are the direct taxes. Next one is, so again we're having some statement. We have to check out whether which of the statement are correct. So there we're having India is the largest consumer of gold. That is true, of course. So India is the largest consumer of gold. Okay. Second one is Kolar mines, gold mines are located in Andhra Pradesh, and that is not a correct statement, of course. It is in Karnataka. Though may extend, some part may extend into Andhra Pradesh also, but now okay, these mines are in Karnataka only. Okay, so these are some of the deepest mines of the world. Okay, so almost all the golds what we are having over here is now been exhausted. We have already simply exported the gold over there. Okay, third one is the gold refinery in India was established in Sirpur. Okay, in Shirpur we're having the establishment of gold refinery. This one is a right statement. Okay, so apart from the second one, both are correct. So A 1 and 3 are right. Next one is Gujarat coast produces maximum crude oil in India. So that is not a right statement. So we have to check out the correct statement only. So Gujarat coast produce maximum crude petroleum in India at present. So it is not Gujarat coast, it is Mumbai High. Mumbai High, which is producing the maximum crude oil you can say, or petroleum in India. So almost you can say what all consumption we are having, out of that just 20% is being produced in our country, and maximum from the region of Bombay High, which almost 176 kilometers away from the coast of Mumbai or Maharashtra. Next, this one is wrong, of course. It is not Gujarat ko, it is Mumbai High. Second one is nuclear power accounts for the largest share of power generation in India. That is again a wrong statement. It is not nuclear power, it is the thermal power which accounts the maximum share of power generation in India. Okay, so it is the thermal power which accounts almost 61%. And remember this part, till date, and that too maximum from the coal production. Okay, so till date we have not received any other alternate which can replace the coal production of power. Okay, so the maximum contribution is because is with the help of thermal power. Second comes hydropower. It is the recent data what we're having. Okay, so the maximum contribution is that of thermal power. Second one is hydropower. Because of hydropower we're having almost 12% contribution, and nuclear power is just contributing 1.8%. It was almost 3% now, but compare with other, of course, the ratio has now been decreased to 1.8%. And in case of this has simply made a huge increment, that is क्या ये, it is renewable energy sources, of course. Okay, so in case of solar power, wind power, now we're having more cheaper solar panels we're having. So because of that, the contribution of solar panels is now increasing day by day. Okay, so now it is having almost 25.2% contribution in case of renewable energy sources. Okay, so the answer is, this statement is not correct. It is also not correct, of course. Okay, so both are not correct. So answer is none of the above. So next question. Yes, now see, I have told you. In case of Deepak Parekh committee, it was this committee which was there in 2012 and given its report in the year 2014. So in its report, Deepak Parekh committee is asked to increase, to simply attract the private investment in the power sector. And because of this, the result of that, now the contribution of private sectors increase in a huge way. Okay, earlier the more burden is over the central sector only, or the central government only. Okay, so now it is more over the private sector also. So it is simply overtaken the share of power in case of central government. Okay, right. Now we go with the next question. Which of the following statement is correct about the chairperson of Monetary Policy Committee? Okay, so chairperson of the committee is appointed by RBI governor. Fine. Okay, next one is RBI governor is the ex officio chairman of the committee. So this one is the correct answer. Okay, in case of Monetary Policy Committee, which simply uh, formulate the monetary policy as the seeing the present condition. Okay, it has been chaired by RBI and also having six member in the committee. Okay, so we're having Monetary Policy Committee, which was set up on the recommendation of Urjit Patel committee, in fact. Okay, so the committee was set up in the 2016. First committee was set up in 2016. It is having 6 members. Okay, and in this, governor simply act as the ex officio chairman of MPC. Now the next one is, which among the following is a suitable term for the state of economy in which economic activity is slowing down, but wage and price continues to rise. So economy is slowing down, it is simply more in a stagnant form. Okay, but the wages and price are rising. So they were having the inflation, rise of price of goods and services called as inflation. So inflation is still going on, but we're having more a stagnant economy. Stagnant economy. So in this case, okay, we're having a concept called as stagflation. So the answer is stagflation. So there it is made up of two terms. One is stagnant economy and inflation. So the economy is witnessing rise of price of goods and services, but the growth rate is almost stagnant or very slow. So this condition is called as stagflation. In case of stagflation, the economic growth is decreasing or more or less stagnant or in a negative way moving direction moving. Inflation is very high, of course, and because of this stagnant growth, we also have increase in unemployment. Okay, if that is so, then the condition arises called as stagflation or stagnant inflation economic condition. Now comes the meaning of Black Revolution. Now it is linked with the production of petroleum product. Okay, right? So it is the revolution linked with the crude oil or the petroleum production. Okay, fine. Now it was in need because the government has simply uh, asked to boost the production of petroleum by mixing ethanol by producing jatropha and other things, of course, which can produce ethanol, of course, by mixing ethanol in petrol and biodiesel. Okay, so now the government is promoting or going for the production of biofuels. Okay, right? Okay, so even if you go with the theme of 2020, it was biofuel towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. Fine, and even this mm, yes, in fact, okay, right. So they were having a theme biofuel towards the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So we go with the next one, 54th question. The Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. Okay, so we're having one of a very major reform, you can say. After GST, it is one of the major reform of the country. That is the bringing of IBC, that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, which is there to encourage the creditors who are giving money to the borrowers, of course. Okay, so before that we don't have any solid mechanism which can help us the creditors to solve the problem linked with their NPS. So it was only in 2016 when the government brought this particular code, that is insolvency and bankruptcy code, they got some relief. कैसे यहाँ पर जो है, now it is totally changed the mechanism how they can simply take out their money from the uh, uh, insolvents or from the willful defaulters, you can say. Okay, now in this case it has developed a mechanism, so it is more a collective mechanism for the resolution of the insolvencies. Okay, so there what will happen of course over there. So the control of any company who has taken the loan from a bank or any other creditor, simply that led to the shifting of the control towards the debtors towards the creditors. Okay, so there will be shifting of control towards the creditors from the hand of debtors. ठीक है, जिन्होंने पैसे को लिया है उससे क्रेडिटर्स के पास में कंट्रोल चला जाएगा यहाँ पर ये. So there we're having the shifting of control. Now it is the creditors only after having the control of the company or the assets, it is they who have to decide whether how they have to take out their money from the debtors. Okay, now it is more leading to some kind of time bound mechanism also. So earlier we don't have this kind of time bound mechanism or resolution solution, of course, but now with this particular IBC or this law, it has simply let the government to go for some kind of time bound resolution for taking out the money from the defaulters. So in this case all three are correct. Okay, now this is the process how a default company or how the creditors simply take the money from the default companies. Now if there is any default company, then the creditors simply take this particular default company to the national company law tribunal, यहाँ लेके जाएगा इसको ये. And okay, now this NCLT simply provides some kind, declares some kind of moratorium to the recovery of the loans, okay, and simply set up a interim resolution professional, IRPs. Okay, it is this IRP which will set up a forum of which will set up a committee of creditors. It will set up a committee of creditors, of course. Now it is this committee of creditors only which is going to decide how they are going to resolve the problem of default. Okay, so whether they will continue with some other way of simply collecting the money, or they will simply have to dissolve the company or liquidate the company to take out their money. So it is up to in the hand of this committee of creditors to decide how they are going to take out the money from the default company. Okay, so this code or this mechanism forms a part of insolvency and bankruptcy code. Now next question is, International Monetary Fund are sharply cut India's growth projection from 12.5% to 9.5%. So even in this question only we're having the reference, of course. So it is simply decrease down the growth rate from 2.5% to 9.5%. So basis point here stands from in fact it is more linked with percent only. And okay, so there almost 3% has been decreased by International Monetary Fund linked with the growth rate of the country. Okay, it is because of the second wave what we have witnessed now. Now in case of IMF, this IMF is the full form of IMF is International Monetary Fund. It was established in the year 1944. Okay, now IMF along with World Bank is called as twins of Bretton Woods. Bretton Woods, which is a place in USA conference. Okay, so it was from this conference these two bodies actually got its birth. That is how it is called as twins of Bretton Woods. It was set up in the year 1944, in the same year when we had this Bretton Woods conference, and from this conference only, or in this conference only, countries have decided to form two bodies as IMF and World Bank. Okay, so it was in 1944 when this IMF was established. Currently it is having almost 190 members. Fine. Next one is, the Company and Insolvency Court of UK has declared Vijay Mallya as bankrupt and allowed the consortium of Indian Bank to pursue his asset worldwide to take out his money given to Vijay Mallya. Okay. Like one is again we're having link with the mass, which the mass the following, of course we're having. So over this side we're having the list of vaccine, and second list 2 we're having the companies which are manufacturing this vaccine. Now in case of Covishield again a very we can say this is a vaccine. Okay, now it is developed by Oxford AstraZeneca. Okay, it was this collaboration which is developed this particular COVID-19 vaccine, Covishield. Okay, now Covaxin is developed by Bharat Biotech. It is an Indian vaccine, of course. It is developed by Bharat Biotech India. Sputnik, it is developed by by the Russians, of course. It is Gamaleya Research Institute, and Spikevax is developed by Moderna. Okay, so we're having Moderna, which is a US company. It has developed this COVID-19 vaccine, which is named as Spikevax. Okay, now in case of Covishield, it is produced in a country by this company named as Serum Institute of India Private Limited. The CEO of this particular company is Adar Poonawalla, and this person is very in news, of course, that you know. So we go further. Now, the next question is linked with Pradhan Mantri Gramin Kalyan Yojana. Now, it is more a scheme linked with providing food security to the people of the country. Okay. Now, this scheme was not launched in 2019 but 2016. It was in this year when we were having the launching of this scheme. So this statement is wrong. It is not correct. Now, under this scheme, it is almost covering 80 crore poor population. Okay. Okay, and through this scheme, this population is going to receive free of cost food grains such as rice and wheat. Okay. Now, recently this scheme was in news, of course, because the government has simply increased or extended the time period for the scheme up till November 2021. So, because of COVID-19, so earlier it was up till the year 2020 only, but now it is increased till November 2021 also. Now, next one is, which state ranked first in Niti Aayog SDG India Index 2021? Okay. Now, in this case, the answer is Kerala. So, Kerala rank 1 in case of the fulfillment of the requirement of Sustainable Development Goals, India. Okay. So, here Kerala rank 1. Now, in case of Assam, Assam is actually in bottom 5. So, over here we're having Assam. Okay, it forms a part of bottom 5. So, Bihar, Jharkhand, and then comes Assam, and thereafter we're having these all states which forming the part of bottom 5 positions. Okay, so the first one here we are having Kerala, and then comes Himachal Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, which are simply on the line to fulfill the requirement of sustainable development goals. Now, next one is, GST is levied on supply of goods and services except. So we have not included two products under GST. So rest all the products are included. All the production goods and services are included in GST taxing structure except the two. So there we're having the alcohol or liquor which are used for the human consumption. Okay, and petroleum product. So there the states are not ready to simply leave these two products to bring under GST, because they feel that the states are feeling that this will make more dependent over the central government to have any revenue. Because that is how. So these two are still not included under the GST tax structure. So alcohol, alcoholic liquor, and petroleum products. So that is how recently we have seen that even though in the international market, the prices of petroleum products are decreasing. Now, of course, now currently because of the increase of demand, we're having increase in the price of crude oil. But initially it was decreasing because of less of demand. Okay, but what we have seen in the last few months, of course, we have seen that the price of petrol and diesel actually increasing in our market and even crosses the mark of 100, and because of which there is a lot of hue and cry in between the public. ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? Why it is so happening? Of course, because if you go with the revenue source of government of India and the state governments revenue, of course, so from every aspect we had witnessed decrease in the revenue of the governments, both state and central government. Okay, if we talk about GST or corporation tax, income tax. So because of lockdown, because of not having much production, not having much development of income, of course, what is happening? We have witnessed more decrease in the revenue from the various sources like GST, corporation tax, income tax, and other taxes, of course. Okay, so because of that, now they have to look for some other sector, of course. So what happened? They have simply start increasing the taxes and or the excise duty over these two products, that is alcohol and petroleum, and because of that simply increase the price of this all product, even though in the international market because of lack of supply we had witnessed a decrease in the price of crude oil or the alcohol product. Okay, That is how we are more witnessing increase in the price of petrol and diesel or the other petroleum products. Okay. Now next one is Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. It was launched in 2015 just to increase just to have the skill development. Okay. Now it is not the flagship scheme of Ministry of Rural Development. It is more the flagship scheme of we're having a separate ministry for this. We're having the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Okay. So it is this ministry which is the implementing, or you can say it is a scheme of this particular ministry, that is Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Okay. Now it is implemented by National Skill Development Corporation. So we're having NSDC, which is implementing this particular skill development program. Okay. The objective is to have the large number of Indian youth to take industry relevant skill training. That is the main problem in our industrial set, and thus in this in fact in our economical setup, of course, that we're having the employment, but thing is we don't have the skilled or well trained employees or the manpower in the market. Okay. So for this we are having the skill development program which was launched by the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Now, which of the following policy bring 5 lakh acres under organic farming? So in case of organic farming, we are having a scheme called as Pradhan Mantri Krishi Vikas Yojana. Okay, it is this scheme which was launched in the year 2015 scheme, 16 of course, they to provide the impetus for organic farming. Okay, now it is more a sub scheme of National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture. Okay, so right, so again we are moving back to our traditional farming. Of course, we are still focusing over the uh, over the natural ways of doing agriculture, then depending over the chemical fertilizers and other things. Next one is, which of the following yojana or the scheme given nominal premium and highest ever compensation in the cash in case of crop loss? Okay, so for the crop loss we're having a scheme, we're having a yojana called as Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Right, so there with this they can go for the insurance of their crop also. So this Bima Yojana was introduced in the year 2016 just to provide some security to the farmers due to the loss of natural causes. Now 64th one is more linked with the merger of 3 insurance companies. So there are three major companies are there. One is not UTI, of course, it is United Insurance Company. It is United Insurance. Second one is Oriental Insurance, and third one is National Insurance. So in the budget of 2018-19, the government planned to merge these all 3 insurance companies into one. Okay, but later on, during the phase of COVID-19 pandemic, okay, so government simply halted this particular decision, and simply now even they are planning to introduce some more capital into these companies. Okay, so they have planned to merge these all companies, but later on they have simply halted this particular merger. Okay, so in 2020 they have halted the merger. Okay, now next one is the authorization for the withdrawal of fund from the consolidated fund of India must come from. Okay, so it is the Parliament of India which authorized with the help of appropriation bill. Okay, so the running government simply come up with the, or the finance ministry come up with the appropriation bill, which is to be passed by the parliament, by both the houses of Parliament of India, and it is this only this it become an act. It is this act only which will simply provide the key to withdraw the money from the consolidated fund of India. Okay, now this bill is given under the article 114. Okay, so it is the Parliament of India which authorized the government to withdraw fund from CFI. It is article 114 only which help the government, which simply authorize the government to withdraw money from the Consolidated Fund of India. Now next question is, the word budget is mentioned in which of the following article of the Constitution of India? Remember this part. Even though budget is a very important exercise of the Indian economy, but still we don't have any mentioning of this particular term in any part of the Constitution of India. Okay, but instead of that, we're having the term known as annual financial statement, given under the article 112. Okay, it was known as annual financial statement under the Constitution of India, or under the article 112 under 12 of Constitution of India. Now next one is, which of the following is not true about the International Monetary Fund? Now the first is of course not correct, of course. Now in case of IMF, it is having the headquarters in Washington. Okay, so IMF is having the headquarters in Washington. It is having 190 members, not 188 of course. So they were having the right answer over there. So this one is the answer. Okay, so these two are wrong, you can say. So the number of members in IMF is 190 and the headquarters is in New York. Next one is, which currency is last to added in the basket of IMF currency? Now IMF introduced special drawing rights or SDRs. Okay, SDR is not a currency but assets which is used like a currency, of course. Okay, right? Now the value of this SDR is depending over the average value of 5 currency. Okay, and out of this 5 we're having Chinese yuan or renminbi. Okay, or we're having renminbi, that is the name of Chinese currency. Okay, so these 5 currencies are renminbi, US dollar, euro, Japanese yen, and British pound and sterling. Okay, now it is Chinese currency which was last to add in this particular basket of currency. It was in the year 2016 only when the Chinese renminbi is added in this particular basket of currency to calculate the value of SDR. Okay, so the answer is Chinese yuan or renminbi. Which of the following is not the objective of the World Bank? To rehabilitate war-ruined countries. Of course, initially it was this only, okay, which was the major objective of World Bank. Then comes to develop the resource and production facilities in underdeveloped countries. Again, it is also correct. Okay, third one is to help the member countries in managing BOP or balance of payment, that is linked with import export of goods and services. Okay, right? So now this one is not a correct statement, of course. For this we're having another organization that is called as International Monetary Fund. Okay, so this actually being managed by International Monetary Fund. It is this which is managing the BOP of any country. Okay, right? So last one is to provide long-term loans to the member, of course. So it provides long-term loans which may even have 30 to 40 years tenure. Okay, and that too these are very soft loan having just 1 to 2% interest rate per annum. Okay, this is a very soft loan and that too paid in long term time. So by taking this, they simply go for some kind of developmental activities. Okay, so it is the third point which is not correct. Now next one is gilt edge securities. Okay, or gilt edge market. Now it is the market which deals with the gilt edge securities. Now gilt edge securities are nothing but the government securities. They are called as gilt edge. That stands for they are the least risk securities. Okay, so the market which is dealing with the government security or the least risk securities is called as gilt edge securities, called as gilt edge market. Now, according to the World Bank annual rating of ease of doing business, so they were having the improvement in the rank of the ease of doing business from 77 to 63. Okay, and what the government has planned to bring our country as per the ease of doing business concern, that is below 50. Okay, that is the government which is planning. Of course, the plan of the government is to bring the rank of India below 50 or under 50, to bring under 50. Okay, in the first 50, you can say. Okay, so the rank is 63rd, so we have improved our rank from 77th to 63rd. Next one is, now even with having the ease of doing business ranking of states also. Okay, so if you go with this particular ranking linked with the year 2019, so there the Assam is having the rank, 24th, I think. No, not 24th, it's 20th, of course. So the rank of Assam is 20th as per the ease of doing business concern, and in this case the first rank is that of Andhra Pradesh, then comes Uttar Pradesh. Fine. Next one is, according to Global Multidimensional Poverty Index, India ranked 62nd out of 107. Okay, so in case of Global Multidimensional Poverty Index, in which we're having 10 indicators, okay, which are grouped under health, education and living standards. So they were having 10 indicators by using which we are ranking the various countries. Okay, so in case of 2020 MPI Global Index, of course, so they were having 107 countries, and out of that India ranked 62nd. Now, India, in case of SDI Human Development Index rank, okay, of 2020, so in case of SDR report 2020, India ranked 131st. Now it is again a, you can say it is more a decrease in the rank of India, of course. So there we are having the downgrade in the rank of India, that is last in case of 2019 India was ranking around 129. Okay, so from this rank we have increased to 131st. Okay, so we have dropped by 2 ranks, of course. So from 129 2019 has now dropped to 131st rank in 2020. Now in World Happiest Report 2020, India ranked 144th out of 156 country. So there the Indians are not much happy because of the conditions. Okay, so in this case World Happiness Index, in this case Finland, Denmark forms the first and second rank, having the first second rank, of course. Okay, so usually these countries are very small, having the socialistic pattern of economy and forming the part of Scandinavian region. Okay, right, so these are the Scandinavian countries: Finland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden. Okay, so these countries rank first and second. First is Finland, second one is Denmark. Okay, and in case of India, India is having the rank 130. Acha, acha. This one is the report of 2020. Now we also have the recent report 2021, and that is, in this case we have improvement in the rank, that is 139. Okay, so World Happiness Report, in case of World Happiness Report, in case of 2020 the rank was 144, and in case of 2021 report it is 139. So we are having the improvement of, we're having improvement of 5 ranks. Next one is, among the Indian economists who had done pioneer work on national income. So of course the answer again we're having VKRB Rao. He had done a lot of work dealing with the scientific calculation of national income. So answer is VKRB Rao. Which of the following method is is not there, of course, to estimate the national income. Okay, so in case of estimation of national income, we're having three methods. One is we're having production method, we're having income method, and we also have expenditure method. Okay, right? So we are having the production method. Remember this part. Okay, so we're having these all sectors which are doing lot of production. So the value of production or the value of GDP is also become the value of income, of course. So what income we're having can be calculated with the help of measuring the GDP. Okay, so we're having these sectors, of course, which are earning the income, which are doing production. Okay, so we take out the value of all the production of goods and services, value of goods and services produced in our country. Okay, we can easily make out the national income. Okay, now that income, that value, okay, so what all we are getting over here become the income of the various sectors. Okay, so they were having the income method also, and what income we receive is being utilized by the people for their consumption expenditure. Okay, so we can have expenditure method also, and all these three methods will have the same value. Okay, so all will have the same value only. Okay, so they were having three methods, of course. One is output method or value added method. Second one is income method. Third one is expenditure method. Okay, so these three are the methods which are there to calculate the income, national income. In our country, which of the following affect the poverty line the most? Okay, right? So in case of poverty line, we calculate the poverty line with the help of per capita income or per capita consumption expenditure. Okay, that is monthly per capita consumption expenditure. It depends over what? It depends over the income. So it is the per capita income which simply affect the most in case of calculation of poverty line. Okay, now see, we're having per capita consumption expenditure as per the Suresh Tendulkar committee method is concerned. Okay, so according to this, poverty line is 1816 rupees per capita per month. Okay, in case of rural area. In case of urban area, it is rupees 1000. If you go with the method introduced by Suresh Tendulkar committee. 78th question is about the mixed economy. Was first introduced in which 5-year plan? So openly it was introduced in second 5-year plan, when the government reserve a number of industrial sectors into their hand, of course. Okay, so there the government has simply now came up to go for the production activities also. Okay, so there in the second 5-year plan, okay, there we have declared, or we have made the policy which is declaring India having the mixed economy. It is second 5-year plan, which was there in the year 1956 to 61. So liberalization, privatization and globalization model of development was introduced in the year 1991. It was in this year when LPG model was introduced in our country. Fine. Now next one is, which of the given statement about Niti Aayog is incorrect? Incorrect. We have to mark the incorrect statement here. So the full form of Niti Aayog is National Institution for Transformation India. It is correct statement. Second one is one district, one product policy. Okay. So recently this Niti Aayog is having its own new agenda. Of course, this agenda is to have one product for each district. Okay. One product, one district policy is a recent agenda of Niti Aayog government. It is also correct. Third one is it was established by replacing planning commission, also correct, of course. It was formed on January 2016. It is not correct. Okay, it was set up, established a year ahead, that is on 1st of January 2015. Next one is, so this, in fact we're having PAN cards we're having. So PAN here stands for permanent account number, to use for the taxation purpose. Next come, next question is, yes, we're having repo reverse repo rate. Okay, so this, you know, of course, there the central bank is selling its security, its bonds to the bank. Okay, so there the bank purchases the security from the central bank. Okay, and that is how it simply gives money and have the security. But sometimes even when this commercial bank want to have more money, it can even sell off its this securities to the central bank, and that is called as repurchase securities. Okay, and from this we're having a concept called as repurchase option. Okay, right? So we're having repo and reverse repo. It is the full form of this is repurchase option. Option of government securities. Okay, so there the commercial bank is selling of their government securities and taking some money from the central bank of the country. Here in the case of this of India is RBI. Okay, so there the RBI is again repurchasing the securities, the bonds of the government securities initially given to commercial bank, sold off to commercial bank. Okay, right, just to lend some money. Okay, so it is giving the securities and lending some money. It is called as repurchase option. Repurchase option. So there the central bank is repurchasing the government securities just to provide more liquidity to the commercial banks. Okay. And the reverse of this is, so there the central bank is selling of the securities and giving and taking some loan from the commercial bank. It is there to absorb the money. कैसे करेगा यहाँ पर ये देखो आप ये. So they were having central bank in case of repo. So there we're having the repurchase of government securities, GSEC, okay, and providing money to commercial bank. It is there to inject liquidity in the market. So it is known as repo. This one is the case of repo. Now in case of reverse repo, it is more reverse of this. We're having the commercial banks. This is RBI or central bank of the country. Okay, in this case, so there the RBI is selling off its government securities just to take money from the commercial bank for shorter time period. Okay, now this has been utilized by RBI as one of the method of monetary policy to absorb money absorb excess money from the market. Okay, so for short term period we are utilizing repo and reverse repo. So there we are dealing with commercial bank. So with the help of repo and reverse repo, it's simply affecting the loan giving power of the commercial bank. Okay, so the fourth one is right, of course, it is the credit policy of Reserve Bank. So with this, by using this, RBI is giving or taking money from the commercial banks. Done. Now next one is, which amongst the following is responsible for the sharing revenue between state government and the local government. Okay, so it is the State Finance Commission which decides how much revenue will be shared between the state government and the local government. Okay, so the answer is State Finance Commission. It is given under the Article 243 of Local Self Government. Okay, so in this we are having a clause of State Finance Commission, which deals with or which recommend the state government about the sharing of revenue between the state and the local government. So which of the following 5-year plan laid emphasis on the establishment of heavy industries? So again I've told you, so there it is the same plan in which the government planned to go for mixed economy, that is second 5-year plan in the year 1956. Okay, so in this plan the government initially thought about establish 5 the steel plants, you know, Okay. So in this, the government has planned to introduce a number of heavy industries. Apart from this plant, we're having a number of more industries also, more factories also, which the government has planned to introduce to increase the production process. So the answer is fifth five-year plan. Now we go with the 85th question. Which of the statement about Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan is correct? These are all correct in fact. So that is that you know of course. So it was during the phase of COVID-19 pandemic crisis condition. So that time the government just to introduce the to increase the demand. Okay. So government has introduced a number of liquidity, good amount of liquidity with the help of Atmanirbhar Bharat. कैसे करते हैं यहाँ पर ये? Now this amount was almost around 20 lakh crore, which was almost 10% of GDP. Okay, right? Okay. Now this package will be given, introduced into the market, into the economy in four tranches. Okay, right? Now it emphasizes over the land, labor, liquidity, and laws of course. Okay, so over these all focused area, we are simply investing the money. Okay, right? Now it is also include the package for the sectors like MSME, cottage industry, middle class, migrants, and industries. So whatever expenditure the government is about to spend just to again bring the economy on the track, okay, it is there in the form of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, where the government has simply come up with a huge package amount to revive the economy again, which is suffering because of the COVID-19 crisis. Okay, so all four are correct in case of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Next one is, so they were having the question linked with Rural Infrastructure Development Fund, RIDF. Okay, so they we have to check out which one is incorrect. So first one is correct. It was established in 1995 with the corpus of 2000 crore rupees. Okay, right? Now second one is it is managed by RBI. It is incorrect statement because it is not managed by RBI but NABARD. It is put under the control of NABARD. Though RBI is again the in fact is controlling NABARD also, but these all institutions are simply managed and maintained by NABARD. Okay, so now it provide loans for the activities under three categories. So they were having three categories under through which this fund is providing loan. कैसे कौन कौन सी categories है? This include agriculture, social sector, and rural connectivity. So for these all projects, NABARD can finance this all sectors schemes. Okay, so RIDF would provide 1,236 crore to Assam also. So recently, NABARD has declared that they are going to provide this much of money for development of the rural and the agriculture sector. So it is managed by whom? By NABARD. Next one is who perform the central banking function in India? Okay. So it is RBI which performs the central banking function of India. Okay, so we're having RBI which perform this function. Okay, that is Reserve Bank of India. So now we're having the question linked with stock exchange. We're having Mumbai Stock Exchange, which was set up in the year 1875. So this stock exchange is the oldest stock exchange of Asia, and not only the oldest, it is also the fastest stock exchange in the world. Okay, right? So they were having BSE, Bombay Stock Exchange, which is the oldest stock exchange of Asia and the fastest exchange in the world. Okay, it was established in the year 1875. Now we're having a question linked with the book Planned Economy for India. It was written by M. Visvesvaraya. Okay. Next one is, yes, it is linked with Northeast India. So they were having green gold. Okay, so there the green gold is nothing but the bamboo. Bamboo is known as green gold because of their multiple usage. So now the last one, what we're having is which of the given statement Receivable Exchange of India Limited is or are correct. Okay, so it is the exchange which facilitates the financing of trade receivable of MSME. Remember this part, okay? So they were having trade receivable. So for this, we can simply utilize this platform to get money, okay? So it was incorporated in the year 2016. Is correct. Now it was more a joint venture between SIDBI and NSE. Okay, it is more acting as a platform mechanism, you can say, which is facilitating the financing of trade receivable of MSME. Okay, so in this case, in case of RXIL, it is all three statements are correct over here. Okay, so all three are correct in case of the last question. So that is how we had covered all the questions which are linked with, which are having the All India aspect. As per the Assam questions are concerned, of course, they were having 10 questions. So for that, you will be provided the answers. Okay, so you can check with the help of those answers only. So I think you would have gained from this particular discussion of this test series. Okay. So again, could it possible if we get the chance, we will meet again. We'll have a good discussion over other test series also. So till the time, thank you for watching this video.